Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tea Talk Tuesday. It's October 12th. And it's mid-October almost, pretty much, right? So time is just flying by. Good morning, Libby. Peace be with all of you. Peace be in your homes and upon your families, and really just upon your week. So as you are all tuning in this morning, I just want to welcome you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being with us this morning and being part of our Faith in Real Life community. Good morning, Carrie and Dottie. Cheers. Happy Tuesday. So I'm just wondering, for those of you who are have popped on already, how did you spend yesterday? Was it just business as usual for you, or did you have the day off? So I'm just really curious to know that. And if you had the day off, did you do anything special with your time? Because there was a change of plans. See, God is really cool about the way that, we have opportunities to pivot and do things differently than maybe we had planned originally. Originally, I was supposed to be in Cleveland. And as our Faith in Real Life community knows, or probably heard, some plans got changed. Good morning, Tina. And so I didn't end up doing that. I didn't end up going to Cleveland. But what was super funny, good morning, Donna, is we usually camp this weekend, Columbus weekend, or I don't even know what you get to call it anymore, but we usually go camping because it's a long weekend and it's really great. And in the past, I would always take off that Sunday so that wherever we were camping, I would be able to stay and not have to drive back to cover my services and things like that. So it worked out perfectly because I'd already had coverage. And I was like, oh, so we got to camp. And what was wonderful about it is we had an opportunity because a friend of mine actually, there had been some tension, some, stuff going on. And a friend of mine had actually come over to just talk about it and just say, hey, we need to just figure this out. And me, that's really great because I'm the kind of person that likes to I don't want a confrontation, and I just figure it's my problem. I'm the one who's going to need to change and do things differently. And so I don't tend to talk about it. And it's just, confession time here. So, oh, thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. It's totally morning here. Libby had the day off, but not because of the holiday. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Holiday. I didn't even know. Day off, question mark. Tina's not extra long work day. Aw. So not only did Tina not get the day off, she had an extra long work day. I'm so sorry and I don't want to rub it in or anything, but yesterday was so beautiful here in the Buffalo area. And usually our Cleveland crew has similar weather, but it was warm. It was over 80. And we came back from camp a little bit earlier so that we could put the paddle boards in the lake. And the whole time I was praying that even though it was warm, it was also not windy, because I am not a very good paddleboarder yet and not very stable. And I thought, if we take the paddleboards to the lake and it's rough, I'm not going to be able to do anything. So, but it wasn't. It was beautiful. It was smooth. And it was just the coolest thing because there was the sun that was, working on setting. And you know how when the sun is setting on the water, there's this beam, the sunset beam, I call it. And I just got my paddleboard into that beam and I just paddled toward it, out and out and out. And then at one point I turned around and was like, holy moly, I'm really far from shore. And so, yeah. And I wanted to actually swim because it's so good for my back, and my back was struggling. So I was like, oh, I'm going to fall off my paddleboard and do some swimming. But then I thought, I'm so far away now that if I can't get my butt back on the paddleboard, this is not a good place to jump off on purpose. So I waited till we got a little bit closer to shore, and then I jumped in, and whew, that's a brisk lake. I can't wait till tomorrow when I get to swim in the Trilogy pool that Greg promised would still be warm for me. Yeah, that's going to be lovely, lovely. Libby was in there yesterday and it was lovely. Yeah. Tina said, I made good use of my long weekend and enjoyed being out in the park for 3 days. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's so important to do that, right? All right. So let's dive in this morning. A little cup of Joe here. Actually, I'm back to tea. 'Tis the season for tea. Hmm. Actually, truth be told, I had a Zoom before this, and I already drank coffee, so we're not going to do 2 cups of coffee in a row. All right. So I've been thinking lately about hamster wheels and merry-go-rounds. These are the things that Carrie thinks about, right? Um, a friend of mine said recently that she feels like her life is in replay. And it made me think about that movie Groundhog Day, right? I know we've talked about Groundhog Day on this in the past, but it's like you wake up and the same thing happens over and over and over again, right? And when I first was thinking about that, I was like, yeah, my life's like that too. You just get on there and it's like a hamster wheel and you just start going and going and going. And, when you see the little hamsters and they got their little feet moving and they're going as fast as they can and the wheel's just going and going and going, but they're actually not getting anywhere. And I started to think about that. It's that same action over and over and over again. And there's so many memes out there with the hamsters on the wheel. And if you keep doing the same thing in the same direction, nothing's going to change, kind of thing. And there's some funny ones. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll I'll just bring them in here and like put them up on the screen. But I'm sparing you the memes, right? But when I think about a hamster wheel, I think about the fact that you always see the same view, right? So unless you get on the wheel backwards, and nobody likes to go backwards, right? I mean, the past is the past. We don't want to go in the past. So we get on the wheel and we're looking forward and we start running, right? But the view that we see is the same because we're not actually going anywhere. Not like a merry-go-round where you kind of, go this way. The wheel is just forward like this, but you have the same view in front of you. And so I started thinking, I said, that's not really me. I'm not on a hamster wheel. And I'd like to know, you guys, does anyone feel like they are on a hamster wheel? Or are you more like a merry-go-round? Or are you like, no, I'm not either of those? You're really good to know. So I'm not great with routine, I have to be honest. And it sometimes I think is a disadvantage, like it's a downfall of mine. But in other cases, it's not. So I probably need more routine in my life. But on any given day, I can be found doing any number of things. And then the next day, completely different things. I have not had a 9 to 5 job in I don't even know, maybe ever, maybe, right? Because after I was a teenager and then I'm working part-time. And then at age 18, I became a full-time missionary, which the only time you weren't working was when you were asleep. So that's like way above and beyond, a full-time job. And then I came off the mission field and I was engaged, started planning a wedding, and I was working full-time hours, but it wasn't a normal 9 to 5. I had appointments. I was doing door-to-door sales. And I was selling frozen foods. Those of you who thought you knew me, I did have a little stint there of knocking on doors and selling frozen foods. And that was at weird times, sometimes it would be during the day and sometimes it'd be evenings where I'd be knocking on doors because that's when people were home. Sometimes I've had appointments. And so it's been weird, right? And then I got married and then I started selling appliances, but it was part-time. Good morning, Steph. Susan's like a roller coaster. Good morning, Cindy. We're talking about whether or not you if your life is just rolling on by, are you on that hamster wheel or are you on the merry-go-round? Okay. This is what the question is this morning. And so I realized that I have never had the 9 to 5, even when I was a teacher. I didn't, like 2 days I'd be in this school, 2 days I'd be in that school, and it just changed all the time. So it's no wonder that I am a person who embraces change. It's all I've ever known. Well, since age 18, which feels like forever, more than half my life. Change and change and change, right? So I am definitely not on a hamster wheel. I'm not going this way with the same view, right? I am definitely on a merry-go-round, right? And I was thinking about how when you're on a merry-go-round, you know how like the very first time, if you can think back to the very first time you ever were on a merry-go-round and your parents let you go by yourself, because probably the first time you were on a merry-go-round, like your mom or dad or someone was standing there kind of holding on to you to make sure that you didn't slide off the horse one way or another. And probably your horse was a stationary horse. But then, as you got a little bit older and you got on the merry-go-round, you wanted the one that goes up and down and around at the same time. If you're living on the wild side like me, right? So your horse is going up and down as you're going round and round. And I have this like memory of the first time that I got to ride by myself. And my parents were off to the side. And there's that feeling that you get when you first start to go and your parents are over here and you start to pull away and you can't see them anymore because now you're over here and they're over here and you lose sight of them. And I remember like my heart would race just a little bit and I'd be like, like I'm by myself on this thing and I'm going up and down and round, right? And then they'd come into view again and they'd wave and I'd wave and then I'd be out of sight again. And, the first time was maybe a little bit scary. And then after a while, it was just like, I don't know, there was this brief moment of like, I'm on my own party on my merry-go-round horse all by myself. But I was thinking about that with regards to our faith, right? Because this is where faith and real life come together right here in tea talks and coffee and conversations, right? So with regards to our faith, so if you feel like you're on a hamster wheel, right? Then if you keep God in front of you and God is what you're focusing on as you're going through life, you get on that wheel and you're running. If you're focusing on God, if that's your view on your hamster wheel, that's actually kind of great, right? You may not love being on the hamster wheel, but your focus is there. And I was listening to a podcast. I think it was by the Mindset Mentor, if I'm not mistaken. That's a lot of M's. I love my alliteration. The Mindset Mentor, if I'm not mistaken. And the topic was what you're tuned into. And it kind of made me think of this, right? Because he said, like, let's just use a radio station, for example. So like here in the Buffalo area, one of our popular radio stations is 102.5. It's where I used to do all my winning. They sent me to Vegas for my 40th birthday. I won a year's supply of cheese. And like every concert you could imagine would be off this station. So guess what? I tuned into 102.5. And when you tune into a specific station, I'm not going to suddenly be listening to 104.1. I'm not going to suddenly be listening to 96.1. I'm going to be listening to what I tuned into, right? And for me, 102.5 is where it was because that's where I did all my winning. So that's what I tuned into. No idea what the other stations were doing, right? Well, just imagine if you tune into God and that is who you are focused on and that is what you are focused on, then if you're tuned in there, you're not going to be squirreled, as I like to got squirrel on my shirt. You won't be taken in one direction or another. You'll be focused, right? So, but now what happens when you're on the merry-go-round and your view is spinning and constantly changing, right? Imagine that if God's here, right? And you start out with him and then you start to go around your merry-go-round, an interesting thing happens. If your merry-go-round is very, very small, God is only out of your view for just a second or two, right? But as we get older and we pile more things on our wheel, the wheel gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And if we are not tuned in to God, when our merry-go-round starts to move, it can sometimes take us a long time before we get back and we can, we get our eyes back on God. And to me, I feel like that's more of where I am at times, right? Let me see. Libby says, when I ride a merry-go-round, I always find one spot and stay focused on it. How do you do that? Because there's a time when your spot goes, or do you mean on the actual merry-go-round itself? I'm talking about like what's outside the merry-go-round. We're looking on outside. I just love that camera. Outside the merry-go-round. As opposed to just like in, like right on the spot. Does that make sense? Yeah. So even if your merry-go-round is small, it can be, it's like you have to intentionally be focusing. So as you start to move away, you have to continually be searching and seeking for God. And sometimes, oh yeah, on the merry-go-round, that makes more sense. You focus on one thing. Me, I'm always looking at whatever's around. That might be my squirrel syndrome, which I'm actually that's going to be a thing. I'm going to like, maybe it already is, but the squirrel syndrome. Okay. So it's just the ability to be able to focus on that one, focus and dial into God and focus. So with this analogy, is it better to be on a hamster wheel or a merry-go-round? To me, there's another side to this. On a merry-go-round, there are a lot of other people that can get on with you, right? And you can enjoy the ride together. You don't have to be alone. Hamster wheel, usually only one, maybe two, if they get along, right? But a hamster wheel can be a very lonely experience. However, if you're staying focused, if your view and you are dialed in to our loving Heavenly Father, it can actually be a blessing to be going about your business day to day with God as the focal point. In either case, when you are searching for Him, whether you pull away and you lose sight for a moment and you come back and you always come back, to that focus, you're dialed in, right? Or whether or not you stay dialed in and you're going about your business in a forward motion, it's just really important that we know what we're focused in. What are we dialed into, right? Now, I can remember we have the amusement park not far from us, Darien Lake, which is a Six Flags, or it was, and then it wasn't, and then it is again. And I can remember when we would do like the merry-go-round or the swings, that same motion where you're going round and round and round. And as I got a little bit older and we used to be able to go on our own, I would like notice that guy or that guy over there, that handsome young man over there. And that would be like the thing I would want to focus on when I get back around. I'm like, where'd he go? Where'd he go? And when I get off this ride, I need to make sure that I somehow, I don't know, bump into him or I don't know what, right? And that was what I was dialed into. But as an adult now, and as someone who's actively seeking to follow God, it's really important to find Him in the midst of all the spinning and spinning and spinning, and to be able to dial in and stay focused. So hopefully that makes sense. Being squirreled is totally a thing. I had a lot of squirreled moments this last week. Me too. I really did. This week was, hard time to focus. A lot of squirreling going on, right? Yeah. So let me just see. I had, So I was thinking, speaking of being squirreled, I was relating this to the disciples, I imagine, right? So here's the disciples. They're out fishing. And being out on the paddleboard yesterday, they were just gentle little waves, right? But I remember at one point, as I was going over a little wave, I was looking back and I'm like, looking at the beach to see if Troy was there and if our friends were there yet. And I wasn't catching sight of them. I wasn't sure where they were. But so I just imagined the disciples on the boat, right? And they're fishing and they're swells going up and down like this. And then suddenly, usually as they go up, they see the same view. It's the same beach. It's the same, dock or whatever that they always see. Only this time, once they came up, all of a sudden they saw this man standing there. Right. So just kind of envision this, right? So there's this guy standing on the beach. They're like, wait, who's that? Why is he just standing there looking at us? Then you go down again and, you get on with fishing or whatever it is that you're doing. And then you come back up again and he's still there. And you get back down again and then back up again. So as the waves are taking you up and down and up and down, if you look there at the shore, there was Jesus for the disciples. And so when finally they got closer and closer and closer to Him, which is really our goal in our faith, right, is to get, through the ups and downs of life, to be able to get closer and closer and closer to God. When they finally got close to Him, He was able to kind of reach out to them and say, come, follow me, right? Come and follow me. So I wanted to take us on a little bit of a, as we wind down, just a little bit of a little meditation, so to speak. I did not write a song about squirrels today. And I'm not going to sing you the acorn song. Those of you who know, But I wanted us to just take a few moments. If you are in a place where you can do this with me, I want to do a little meditation. Okay. So, and this is kind of going to be our prayer. I'm just going to grab my guitar here. Okay. I would love for us, I'm just going to play some quiet music, and I'm going to ask you to close your eyes if you can. If you're driving, don't do that. If you're at work, it may look a little strange, but that's okay. But just close your eyes, and let's use this as a time of prayer, actually. As we close our eyes, I would like you to picture Jesus, maybe the way the disciples did, standing right in front of you. If you see him as on a merry-go-round, take a deep breath in and then exhale slowly. As you do, imagine your ride is slowing down. And maybe you start to sweat just a little bit in anticipation. You wonder if it will stop before it makes its way all the way back around to him. But then you realize it will, and your heart starts to beat faster and faster as you get closer and closer. You get so excited, like a kid on Christmas morning, because you know any moment now he will come into view again. Suddenly you see him, and his eyes are upon you, and you know down to your very core that maybe for the first time in a long time, you are seen. Truly seen for exactly who you are. How do you feel? In the past, this may have scared you or made you feel shame. But today, you are overcome with acceptance and warmth and love like you never imagined even possible. You know you are feeling exactly what he is seeing. How does that feel? He reaches for your hand at the exact same time that you reach for him. You ask him to see others the way that he sees them, so that you can serve them as he would. And as you hold on to his hand, you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that he is leading you. As I sing this simple chorus a few times, I would like you to envision what he is showing you as you walk with him now. Who and how he wants you to love and to serve others. Take that feeling of complete love and acceptance and joy and warmth with you. Allow yourself to see what he sees, what he wants to show you in this prayer. Give me eyes to see you, Lord. Give me eyes to see as you see. I long to serve the way that you serve, Lord. Please show me the way. Give me eyes to see as you see, Lord. Myself and those around me. I long to serve the way that you serve, Lord. Please me the way. Give me eyes to see as you see, Lord, myself and those around me. I long to serve the way you serve, Lord. Please show me the way. Please show me the way. Please show me the way. Amen. Amen. And amen. Thank you for taking that little journey with me. I found that doing that this week helped me to step off of the merry-go-round and into his arms again. I don't want to be in a place where I lose sight of him at any time. I also don't want to be on a hamster wheel doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I've decided, and maybe this will be helpful for you, that while I may be on this merry-go-round going round and round, instead of having Jesus outside the merry-go-round on the ground where I can only see him when I come back around to him, I'm going to invite him onto the merry-go-round with me. And he can be on the horse right next to mine. And we're going to go up together, we're going to go down together. And even if we're doing this, I can keep focused on him. Amen? Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So thank you for joining me on the hamster wheel and the merry-go-round today. And don't forget to take him with you. Dial in, tune in, so that all you are listening to is God and his direction for your life. So if you liked this particular topic, be sure that you're tuning in on Tuesdays for my craziness, but also the rest of the week for those of you who don't know. So if you are tuning in on Midlife Mamas, there's something here all the time. So faithinreallife.com, just head over there and spend time in community. So tomorrow we have Millie, and she gives Wednesday wisdom in a beautiful, beautiful way. And then we have Greg on Thursday. I think there's a new podcast or a new dawn coming on Friday, and so many things. And if you would remember and could remember, please, I will be in Cleveland this week, starting tomorrow, and we do have one of our Restore events on Thursday. So it's another opportunity for us to come together as people are looking to restore their families, to restore the depth of faith that they desire in their life, and then also to spill that into their families. So we would love for your prayer support for that. So that's Thursday if you're thinking about it, or you want to tell Siri to remind you. Definitely. So Donna, thank you for being here. He's definitely the way. Yeah. And he's going to keep showing us the way. So keep on focusing. All right, you guys, have a wonderful, wonderful day. And Midlife Mamas, I will be actually putting some more information in there today or tomorrow for some upcoming stuff we got going on. So I'll see you soon in there. But again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and I will see you soon. God bless.